My name is Bryan Montanio. I'm an architect in Portland, Oregon. I have a firm called A/A Architecture, and we are starting a venture of high-performing and healthy homes called the Keets. My background is going through a traditional modern architecture school setting and loving the design process, and also feeling that the implications the built environment was having on the world were having a lot of negative effects. And from there I went into a natural building, looking at how to use unadulterated and natural materials in the building process, and trying to, having since combined those two elements of design together. The Keets is an attempt to use materials in as simplified a place as we can to then get to the essence of what natural building was delivering, but also in a modern design setting. A Keet is a modern home, usually of a single story, that's composed with healthy and high-performing building materials. They're usually found in pairs. And the Catlin Keets is our first example to bring this concept to life. Ultimately, what we're hoping to do is present a case for why to build smaller and better using materials, assemblies, and processes that are more in tune with natural systems as well as with communities, and presenting a design that is prioritizing the occupants, the builders, all the way down to the environment and how things are harvested and processed. The goal of the Keets, in terms of our focus on the quality over quantity, is to convince occupants and builders that when we have spaces that are designed well, that are built with materials that are lasting, and that are conceived of assemblies that are mold resistant, vapor permeable, and airtight, that the space that you're in will have all sorts of benefits on how we function, our health, and also have benefits in terms of the impact they have on local and world-reaching ecosystem. Our vision in terms of how we can get home builders to think and perform differently when they're looking at projects is to really consider everything that's involved in the building assembly from a durability, a health, and a sustainability perspective. And when we do that, inevitably, when we're trying to eliminate different abuses throughout the supply chain, there's going to be costs that are not going to be seen in the lowest common denominator of product. When that happens, the whole project is going to be more expensive. And so when we think smaller, the same budget will then be able to be applied in a much higher quality to the space that we have available to us. We were looking for a sustainable source for decking that didn't come from tropical hardwood. We came into contact with Cambium, and they have a thermally modified product that we were really interested in that had a lot of the same benefits in terms of durability, but it came from a species that was locally sourced, and they were able to modify to get to a similar color, as well as having a lot of the benefits that we would usually source from overseas. The material that we're looking at for the Keets project is the silky cedar, which is a type of juniper, and it is sourced from eastern Oregon. And we were particularly excited about this because it's salvaged from fire events, which unfortunately Oregon has had several of in the past years. And that wood is not only very durable, rot resistant, and can perform really well in an exterior application, but in its current state, it's going to be either left to slowly degrade in the forest that was burned, or we can actually utilize it in place of harvesting new material for the same application. So using the Carbon Smart product in our Keets case study example was an important extension of so many of the materials that we're trying to use. We're trying to, as much as possible, source things that are locally, source things that are sustainable, and not just sustainable from an environmental standpoint, but sustainable in terms of the processes behind them, so that the whole system of us looking at and acquiring material is done in a way that can be perpetual over time. The Carbon Smart wood product project, because it is continually sourced from whatever happens to be available at that time, was a really interesting concept to us, and it very much fits within the mindset of the Keets, which is trying to be flexible and adaptive to how we think about sustainability in the built environment. Our experience with Cambium began with us reaching out to their team and actually heavily relying upon them for advice as to what species would make sense for our project with the timelines that we had allotted to us and location that we're sourcing from. We actually are really trying to push a model where we're relying upon the company and the supplier to connect us with something that's appropriate for our project that we can then deliver to clients, knowing that there will be a high quality end result, but that we're not set from the beginning on a specific look or a specific material. And this allows us some flexibility to not get into a place where we're so reliant upon one specific type of wood, if it's in this case, that then becomes a part of the project. Instead, we say we want something that's going to last a long time. We're looking for something that is going to be in this application, and Cambium actually come back to us and say, these are the different products that we have available, that we have salvaged systems in place for, and from those we were able to choose the silky cedar product for this project that is going to be a really good fit. But in future versions, whether it's of the Keets or in other projects that we're working on, the intention is not that it always has to be that same wood species used in that same way, but actually it can be a conversation that from the beginning we say, we have a project that's upcoming, it's going to be 6 months out, and we want to know what's available and what can be done, harvested and produced and delivered in a sustainable way for that project, and then choose between those options. Some of the other materials that we're really excited about using from a health and sustainability aspect, one that is really exciting to me is using clay and lime plasters on the interior. These are really great not only for their aesthetic beauty, but they allow for humidity buffering of the interior space, so they help control moisture passively and allow for very mold resistant assembly, as well as something that is regulating the interior environment. We're also really excited about the use of our wood ceiling, which is going to be another locally sourced product from a white fir, which is in Northern California. We're looking at using a wall system that is composed of mineralized wood chips. It's called wood insulated concrete forms, which is also a local product. It is very different than building with wood frame construction. It is super durable, will last for a really long time. Also vapor open and humidity buffering, as well as being really great for sound attenuation. So the envelope combined with the triple pane windows and the air sealing that we're doing will not only protect from thermal and from moisture, but we're also taking in sound into account to create a space that's a sanctuary, very quiet and comfortable in that respect. Right now we're targeting sometime in June. We're excited to be showing people all throughout that time the assemblies and the different processes that we're using to construct this project. And then after that point, the intention of the Catlin Keets as a case study project is to be used as an example and showcase project for bringing people in. So you actually have an opportunity to engage with the building system, all of the different materials we're using. So you can come and touch the wood siding, you can touch the natural clay plaster, you can close and open the European window systems that we're using, interact with the cabinetry, all of these things that in most cases, even the best case scenario, you're only going to get to see in pictures or visit through a quick tour of someone's home. But we're trying to make this available to people so they can actually experience and wake up in the morning, get a sense of how it feels when it's quiet, when the air quality is at a super low level of particulate matter, and we've managed the temperature and humidity such that it's comfortable, it's pleasant, and you're interacting with all of the different elements of a high quality project in a whole holistic setting. If there's one thing I'm hoping to get out of this project, it's that we can develop a design system that is combined with a supply and partnerships of all sorts of different people in, whether it's the Portland area or extending outside of that, where we have an ability to build high quality, sustainable and healthy buildings that are accessible to people because we've now shown them that less space can actually be of a higher value than having lots of rooms that are not of the same level of intention and design. Hopefully there's some good stuff in there. I did feel like it was next time.